Well, 2017 might actually beat 2016 in terms of quality horror films. And you need to hear about The Blackcoat's Daughter. The Blackcoat's Daughter stars Emma Roberts, Kiernan Shipka, and is directed by Oz Perkins. What's up, guys? Before we get into this, quick shout out to Nerdy Josh, who actually bought this movie, and he was nice enough to send me the code. And so I had to say thank you for that, Josh. I really appreciate it. I'll post a link to his channel below. Make sure you check out his channel. Great stuff. Also, guys, I will put my Amazon affiliate link to The Blackcoat's Daughter below, so you can go and you can rent it or you can buy it. But it helps out the channel too, which is really appreciated. And also, before I get into this, after the rating, I will be talking about some spoiler stuff. So stay tuned after the rating if you've seen The Blackcoat's Daughter. So The Blackcoat's Daughter is about these two students at this boarding school, Rose and Kat. Kat is played by Kiernan Shipka and Rose is played by Lucy Boynton. But all the other students in the boarding school, they have left for the break. The parents have picked them up. But these two girls, they are stuck there. And there's a reason behind that, because Rose actually gave some false information to her parents. Kat is having these dreams of her parents in this car accident, and she marks it off on her calendar for the day that they come. And Rose tells her this story of these nuns who are demon possessed. And then when Kat gets this phone call, really shady phone call, that's when things start going into really strange territory, demonic territory. Also, you need to know about this character, Joan, played by Emma Roberts, who plays a pivotal part in this movie. And I will say, as you're watching her character throughout the movie, you're not quite sure how she links up to Rose and Kat. But it is explained at the end of the movie, vaguely, but we will go into that in the spoiler territory. But Joan is a strange character because she kind of shows up, she's really quiet. You can tell that she has been through something, and this really nice guy named Bill, played by James Remar, picks her up, wants to help her because he tells her about his daughter that was killed, and she reminds him of his daughter. And that's really all I want to tell you concerning them, because I don't want to go into any spoiler territory, but I will say Joan is a really interesting character. Really, all three of these girls are extremely interesting. Now, the first thing I want to get into is what I call, I guess, art house cinema. And I know CP's given me crap for that before, but for lack of a better term, art house cinema in my mind is lower budget independent films that often go to VOD. We don't see them in theaters. And really, that's what The Blackcoat's Daughter is. I had never heard of this movie until I think I saw it on the shelves at Walmart a couple weeks ago. But after seeing the trailer, I could tell that this was going to be an interesting film that deals with possession. And that's another thing I want to talk about. Possession movies are always a mixed bag. Because of The Exorcist, you can never try to compete with The Exorcist. The Blackcoat's Daughter does it perfectly. And I think how it gets it right is it doesn't lean on the supernatural side. It leans more on realism in terms of demonic possession. And that's what The Exorcist did. Everything in The Exorcist, it felt real. The possession felt real. And there is a scene of possession in this movie that also feels real. It doesn't feel like, supernatural type entity stuff. Stuff that we even see on TV nowadays. And it doesn't scare us at all. And that's a perfect segue into my next point about this movie. It is really terrifying. Probably the most brutal, violent scenes I've seen in a horror film in a while. But let me warn you, it's a slow burn. It takes a while to get to that part of the movie because it's trying to tell a story along the way. It's trying to put all these pieces together because this isn't a linear timeline. So it can be a little bit confusing at times. But once all the pieces are in play and then you're like, oh, okay, now I get what's going on here. That's when the horror really kicks in. The score in this movie is probably one of the most effective horror scores I've heard this year. And that's because it feels more organic. It feels demonic. It doesn't feel like your traditional regular score with, that might be orchestral. No, this score actually feels like it could be an entity in the movie itself. And also, make sure you watch this on a really good sound system. I promise you, you will benefit from it. If you watch this with the volume way down and the subtitles on, you're only taking away from the experience. Trust me on this. But director Oz Perkins, this is a complete vision from start to finish. That's what I love about this movie. You can tell that this guy had everything kind of charted out as far as what he wanted to do with this movie, not only in the story, but in the score, in the tone, in the characters. All that comes into play. And I have to applaud the young actresses in this, especially Kiernan Shipka and Emma Roberts. Wow. The performances that they give are so good because a lot of times in this movie, they don't say much at all. So everything is kind of through their emotions, through their body language, all that stuff in order to give the performance that's needed for this movie. And they do a fantastic job. Guys, this movie really struck a strong chord with me. As a horror fan, this is what I look for in a horror movie. I'm gonna give this Trapped on an Island. I loved the hell out of this. It was so refreshing. And I pondered that rating because I actually posted on Killer Flicks, about how awesome this movie was. And there were quite a few comments in there that, they thought it was boring. And I could totally understand that. I could see how somebody could watch this movie and find it boring. And that could be your mindset when watching it. But thankfully, my mindset was, I was in the zone, I guess you could say, and I ate it up. And it's probably one of the few horror movies in a while that actually scared me. Okay, now we're gonna get into some spoiler talk real quick. Mainly the third act of this movie, we see the demonic possession fully take hold of Kat, and that's when the horror really kicks in. All those scenes are just completely startling. It almost felt like you were watching a documentary, like watching a snuff film almost. It didn't feel like Hollywoodized violence at all. But throughout this movie, about in the middle of it, I thought, I will bet that Joan is actually an older version of Kat. And there's still things that I'm not 100% sure of on this movie. I really want to go back and give it another watch. The way things played out in my mind, and at the end when we see Joan, screaming, and the big thing is the bullet hole in her shoulder. That pretty much told me that yes, she is actually Kat, because if you remember, Kat was actually shot by the police officer earlier in the movie. But again, guys, like I said, I need to watch this again because I'm sure that the next time I watch it, I'll get more out of it. And thank you, Nerdy Josh, for hooking me up with this code. I really appreciate it. Loved this movie, and I will definitely buy the Blu-ray. So anyway, guys, what are your thoughts on The Black Coat's Daughter? Looking forward to hearing them. Also, be sure to come over to Killer Flicks where we talk horror all day, every day, and on Fridays we do Free For All Fridays. Follow me on social media at Drumdums, Facebook, Twitter, Letterboxd, Instagram. If you like what I'm doing, please hit that subscribe button. I'd really appreciate it. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. Have a great day, and Drumdum out.